It is preview season here on the channel, and today it's all about the Kentucky Wildcats. Welcome to Armchair Analysis. I'm your host, Tyler Isley. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let's go ahead and get right into it. The Kentucky Wildcats in 2025. What will they be? Well, to start that conversation, as we typically do, we take a look at what they were. And in 2024, this Kentucky team was, I don't want to say bad. I think they didn't meet expectation, certainly, but I don't want to say this is a bad team. This is easily the best defensive team that we are talking about so far here on the channel. And if you haven't already seen the rest of them, there's a playlist on the channel. Go check it out. 2025 season previews. Every single one we've done so far, all 7 of them, including this one would be 8. And this is the best defense by far that we're talking about. This is the 33rd scoring defense in the country last year, 22.1 points per game allowed. Biggest issue was offense, 20.6 points per game scored, good for 119th in the country. And this team also did not do well in the turnover margin per game, negative 0.6, 112th in college football. This team, again, 4-8, 1-7 in SEC play. They were just down. I think I don't even think down is the right word. I think they just didn't meet expectations. People expected a little bit more, really, from Brock Vandagriff. Didn't quite get it. I think people expected more from guys like Jamori Macklin to step up, and that didn't quite happen either. This ended up being a team that really ended up relying on their run game, and I don't think they really thought that was going to be the case given what they had done with the portal. So in saying all of that, they turned it around. They top 10 portal class this year. Really impressive, and they brought in some names in terms of getting things figured out offensively. Now, there's some places that are still left to be desired. Let's not misunderstand, but this team, I think, did a really good job with the portal. And then they top off with a top 30 recruiting class, which was a really solid job. Mark Stoops, I think, is safe as long as he wants to be at Kentucky. He's done so many good things for this program, turned them around in so many ways, gotten wins over teams they did not win against in 30-plus years in the case of Florida. And I think it's bought him, rightfully, a little bit extra time and a little bit of time to do what he needs to do and what he feels is right for the program, given he's put them in the spot that they've been in. Offensive coordinator Bush Hamdan is the guy you're looking for here, and he's gonna tab somebody. So Zach Calzada is the name that everybody thinks likely will be the favorite, but if you're talking to Kentucky circles, I think they really want to see Bo Allen, a graduate transfer, make the chance. Some will even say Cutter Bully. It's a three-man race at this point. And I would say that Calzada is probably the most likely, but it could probably be anybody here. As for running back, they got Dante Dowdle out of the transfer portal coming over from Nebraska. A guy that I think can do the job. He's not quite your typical Kentucky running back, but I think he can come over and be solid. Where I think they really improved the most was at wide receiver, and now they're going to lead themselves with guys like Fred Farrier, Jamori Macklin, who returned. But Jamori Macklin, remember, was a transfer from North Texas that everybody thought the world of. He had a good year. It just wasn't, I think it didn't lead to the success that they were expecting in the passing game. In the portal this year, they brought over J.J. Hester, probably the least recognized. Troy Stellato from Clemson comes over, going to be a guy that I think plays a really big role as a 4th or maybe 5th wide receiver. And then Kendrick Law, I think, is going to be the most impactful, of course, coming from Bama. And pairing him with Jamori Macklin is going to be a big deal down the stretch of the season. At tight end, they got Josh Caddis, and as for the offensive line, it's experienced, and I have little to no expectations of anything less than good from this offensive line. Because what we've gotten used to, the one thing that Kentucky does really well is control the line of scrimmage. They've been really solid at that. Probably over the last 5 to 7 years, they've really started to find a way to compete on the line of scrimmage. this offensive line is going to be good. I don't even know how else to, again, explain that. Looking over at the defensive side of the football, defensive coordinators, Brad White and Chris Collins. David Gusta comes over from Washington State, and this is a name you need to know. He's one of the best defensive linemen in the country. Was paired on a really good defensive line last year. Decided he wanted to go take on some SEC football, and I think he's going to succeed really well. I think this is going to be a guy that people are really excited to see what he ends up doing and how he ends up providing for this Kentucky defense. They're going to add him with Marquise Humphrey, Grace, and Khalil Saunders. Sam Green transfers in. He's going to be a big part of this. But there's a lot of guys who transfer in. As for guys returning, Jordan Levitt leads the team in returning interceptions and tackles, 63 tackles, 2 interceptions. Alex Afari leads the team in tackles for loss returning this year. Going to be a big deal and going to be a leader at that middle linebacker position. And then you got Ty Bryant, safety, going to be a big deal. Had 2 forced fumbles last year, led the team in that department. He's going to be a guy that's just around the football. Anytime you're watching the Kentucky defense, expect to see number 14 in on the play. Now, this team, it doesn't just stop there. And, yeah, they produced some NFL talent last year. Let's not forget what they're losing. But what they are holding on to and the team that I think is going to be put on the field this year, I have a lot of really good expectations for what Kentucky's defense is going to be. And it's going to be similar to last year. Again, 22.1 points per game allowed. I think they're going to sit in that same range. I think they're going to be a team that's tough to score on, tough to move the ball on. And they're going to be a ball-hawking group. They are aggressive. That's how they like to be. That's how they've always been. And I don't really see that changing. I think this is going to be a team that comes out, comes after you, and makes you beat them. It's always how it's been. And they went 4-8 last year, but they were competitive a lot. They beat Ole Miss. They had some really good wins and some really good moments last year, even as a team that went 4-8. You go 4-8 and you're 1 win as Ole Miss. I think you're a little better than maybe what the papers might say. So my thoughts on this team. This Kentucky team is funny to me on offense. They set up offensively they set up the opposite as they do most years. Good wide receiver room and everything else is kind of okay, especially at quarterback and running back. This defense, I think, will once again be the identity of the team. With that said, we take a look at this schedule that they have. And to be honest, it's not bad. And I think it sets up really fun in a lot of places. You start the season with Toledo. Right? Eyes are on Toledo. They beat Mississippi State last year. Kentucky, not going to sleep through that game. Ole Miss, this is an interesting one. We'll talk a little about it. Eastern Michigan, another good tune-up. You get Tennessee Tech late in the season. You get Vandy and Louisville on the road to close the season. Louisville? Whatever I just said. I don't know. Tennessee is going to be an interesting game, but you have some really tough ones too. Florida, Georgia, South Carolina is going to be tough. Again, Vandy's going to be tough. Louisville's going to be tough. Auburn, interesting expectations. Oh, by the way, Texas is on here too. I don't even know if I even mentioned that yet. This is we talk about Mississippi State, and I still think Mississippi State has the toughest schedule in college football. This is not too much easier or too much lighter, per se, than that. So without any further interruption, and you look at the win total, it kind of explains what we're talking about here. A win total sitting at 4.5, plus $30,000 to win SEC, but that national championship odds, the first time that we've seen anything below 100,000, plus $75,000 for a $1 bet on a national championship for Kentucky. Yields you $7,500. Insane stuff. Let's go ahead and predict the season, why don't we? And they kick it off August 30th against Toledo in Kroger Field. I think they're going to get the win there. I think Toledo's going to be a decent team. I like what Jason Candle is, always have. Really kind of waiting for him to get that Power 5 offer. But going into this year, I think this Kentucky team feels a little more comfortable, understands who they are, what they're going to be. And I expect them to come out and kind of do what they need to do, take care of business. It may not be pretty. Week one's never pretty for a lot of these teams that are kind of middle of the road. But it's going to be just a get out of there, be content, gain some confidence. You go into week two, and this is one of the most interesting games to me because, for one, Kentucky beat Ole Miss last year. Did it in interesting fashion on the road at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. Ole Miss is going to want to win this game in 2025. Ole Miss is breaking in their own new, really. Austin Simmons takes over at quarterback. How far along is he going to be? How ready is he going to be for that big game? And really, when your first big game is against Kentucky, you think, okay, well, that'll be whatever. It's not. This is a defense that can really wreak havoc on a young quarterback. For that reason, given this game is going to be on the road for Ole Miss, I'm taking Kentucky to win this game. I think that this game is in the perfect spot for the Cats to go and win it, and it's in really the worst spot for Ole Miss to want to play it. Shocking as it may sound in week two, this is going to be one of the most head-scratching results probably in the SEC. Oddly enough, I was scratching my head when I said that, but it's going to be one of those games that you sit back and you look at the end of the season and you go, how did that even happen? And the answer is going to be simple. Inexperience on one side versus a lot of experience on the other. I think that's where Kentucky's really going to get ahead here in this early portion of the season. I'll go ahead and give them the win over Eastern Michigan. Again, similar to Toledo, I think they're going to take care of business and really coming off an emotional win like they'll have against Ole Miss. May not be the best looking game, but I think the confidence boost of being 2-0, they'll carry them to 3-0. You get a bye week before you go on the road to Columbia, South Carolina, and take on the Gamecocks. And I think that this is going to be one of those games where we learn what the Kentucky defense is. Because we can say that the Ole Miss game is going to be... We can sit back and act like the Ole Miss game, should they win, is going to be the tone setter for the season. And it could be. It really could be. But part of me thinks that, again, the inexperience for Ole Miss, especially the quarterback position, is going to be a little bit tough to overcome early. Meaning that maybe, I don't want to say fraudulent result, but a result that really doesn't hold up and stand the test of time. This game on the road in Williams-Brice Stadium, to me, will prove that that won't stand the test of time. I think that Lenore Sellers is going to become a Heisman contender at some point in the year. He may not win the Heisman. He may not even go to New York, but I think he's going to be a Heisman contender for the majority of the year. This game is going to show exactly what Kentucky's defense is and what they are as a team altogether. The South Carolina defense, I expect to stay pretty good, but there's a lot of loss there. A lot of things that we have to really sit back and see what they're going to be. But I am taking Carolina to get the win and hand Kentucky their first loss of the season. And, oh joy, if you're Kentucky, you get a bounce back from that and go on the road and play Georgia. And Gunnar Stockton's a guy I like. I like Zachariah Branch. I love the Georgia defense. Who wouldn't at this point? I think this Georgia team is looking for that, I don't want to say revenge tour. I think that's kind of an overplayed and overused term. But I think this Georgia team is looking to get back on track. Say, yeah, you know what? Big Ten, you had your fun. We're back. We're back on track. I think that would be what the expectation for them might be this year. If Gunnar Stockton is what we expect him to be and what we saw in the playoffs and really throughout the end of the year last year, I think that we will be saying that Georgia is a national championship contender and is going to be right back in the conversation as they always have been. This game on the road, Georgia knows what Kentucky was last year and how close that game was. 13-12. I watched that game from a hospital bed last year. 13-12. I think that we're going to watch Georgia come in and want to prove a point. Yeah, you hung with us last year. Not again. Give me the Dogs to win that one. You follow another bye week up. You get your 2 bye weeks out of the way really early, which I think is going to be a hindrance to this team. But you'll follow that up with a home game against Texas. Could be interesting, but at this point, I think the Texas offense is going to be kind of figured out. They're going to be humming along. The defense is going to be really solid. I have a lot of faith in Texas on that side of the football, too. I think it's just going to be too much. I'm going to take Texas. So you walk into this Tennessee game at 3-3. This game being in Lexington, a Tennessee team that I don't know how much faith I truly have. It's not a terrible amount. I mean, I'm not sitting here and saying that they're going to be awful, but it certainly doesn't feel very good to me in terms of Tennessee going out and maybe winning this game or being the better team even. I'm taking Kentucky to get the job done in this one at home. I think they're going to just do enough. I think that defense really is gonna be enough, and it'll. I don't want to say it'll prove, because I think we'll be already past the point of proving. Like, Tennessee will have just played Alabama the week before. We'll be past the point of proving what Joey Aguilar is going to be to this team. I just think that we'll know what they are going to be, and at this point, I don't really believe that Tennessee is going to be this team that's just. I don't think they're going to be a playoff contender, personally. I mean, I said it a while back that I think that this team's going to go hit the under on their win total, which is 8.5, and I'm standing by that. I don't really see this team being anywhere near that. They go back on the road, face Auburn, and this could go one of two ways. Like, I could be sitting here at this point, first weekend in November, and say, "Damn, what did I think of Auburn, and why did I ever get there?" I think that this team offensively is too good to fail, or sets up pretty good to the point where it's hard to see them failing. Defensively, I have a lot of high hopes for this team. I think this game being in Jordan-Hare is going to be a big deal. I'm going to take Auburn to get the win, and I'm just going to go ahead and throw it up there. I think DJ Lagway at this point is going to be certainly cemented in the Heisman conversation. I'm going to take Florida over Kentucky as well. So we sit here at 4-5 with 3 games left. I'll go ahead and put the win up there. They're going to beat Tennessee Tech. No questions asked. You go on the road and you're going to face one of the best tight ends in the country. You're going to face Diego Pavia, who's going to be, I don't think Heisman contender, but I think this Vandy team is going to be arguably just as good as last year, maybe a little more experienced than last year. I think this game is just going to come at a time where you don't really expect it to catch you, a game right ahead of playing Louisville. I'm going to take Vandy to win this one. I'm going to take Louisville to win it to close out the season. This Kentucky team is probably better than that. This is where that old adage, as other college football creators, Josh Pate specifically, likes to say, that your record is not fully indicative of who you are as a team. And I think that 5-7 does not fully indicate who Kentucky is as a team. This is a team that would likely beat the majority of anybody else in the country. I would say they'd probably beat 50% of anybody not in the SEC. The problem is they play in the SEC, and they've got a unreal schedule between the end of September, from that Carolina game on until they play Florida. It is as tough as it gets. And it doesn't necessarily get easier outside of that after that Tennessee Tech game. It certainly isn't easier before. They could lose that Ole Miss game, lose to Tennessee, and we could be talking about this team being 3-9, maybe 4-8 even. But I don't buy it. I think that this is a team that's a lot better than people may give them credit for. And there's going to be people that do not like that I'm saying that this team goes 5-7, but they don't really improve based on stat-wise or numbers. They still go 2-6 in conference. That's only 1 win better than they were last year. They just get the job done in that's the word I'm looking for. they get the job done in the moments where they can capitalize. Is kind of what I'm trying to say here. So 5-7 for the Cats is not bad, better than expectations. Certainly, they're sitting at a 4.5 win total. 5-7 certainly hits the over. So I'm excited for this team. I really am, and I think it's just one of those where, again, you start building for the future in some ways. Who you're going to bring in to be the new quarterback, who you're setting up for the future with in your program and leading the program. They've been really big about getting these upperclassmen transfers to come in and lead the program, and some have worked out really well, some have not. Tough to say what they'll end up being, but I'm actually really, really excited to see what they turn into and how this year breaks down for them. So let me know if you're a Kentucky fan. As I say to everybody, you probably know your team better than I do, and in a lot of cases, I will agree. This is one of those cases. Please let me know if there's somebody I missed out on, somebody I didn't catch in this preview or when I was doing research. Let me know. Say, hey, numbnuts, you forgot this guy. Make sure you do some research and come back before those conference predictions come out, where things can certainly change. If you enjoyed the video, if you made it this far, please leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. Helps these videos get out further and reach more eyeballs. But I thank you all for the support so far and tuning into these and just hanging around. Preview season. It's been a lot of fun. 8 teams in. Means we got about 60 to go. Tomorrow, we talk about Jake Dickert and the new look Wake Forest Demon Deacons. How does the era post Dave Clawson begin? Got a lot of high hopes for the team, I think, and the program as a whole, but we'll see if 2025 matches those hopes, or if they completely miss expectation. We'll get on that and plenty more throughout the next week. I thank you all for tuning in again. We'll see you in the next one. Wake Forest up next.